Beloved, stop everything and listen, because what is moving toward your life right now cannot wait another moment. I have walked with God long enough to know when heaven is speaking with urgency and heaven is speaking directly to you today. There are rare trembling moments in a person's life when everything hidden becomes visible, everything silent begins to roar, and everything you wept over in darkness suddenly blazes in the light. Beloved, you are standing inside one of those moments right now. You cried in seasons that nearly destroyed you. You whispered to God in the silence, "Have you forgotten me?" You rose every morning with nothing visible to prove your faith was working, and yet you kept going. You kept going anyway. And I need you to hear this with carry what is now coming. He hid you on purpose because the weight of what he was preparing required a person of extraordinary character, and you are now that person. So open your heart completely, because today I am declaring over your life that a powerful heaven-orchestrated offer is approaching you, unlike anything you have ever seen or dared to believe for. And when it arrives, it will and still, nothing shifted. Still the door stayed closed. Still the silence from heaven felt almost unbearable. I need you to understand something today that will completely change the way you see every single one of those moments. God was never absent. He was arranging. There is a difference between a God who has forgotten you and a God who is quietly, carefully, deliberately positioning you for something your eyes cannot yet see. And beloved, the God we serve, the God who holds every breath you take in the palm of his hand, he has never once forgotten your name. He has never once looked away from your life. Not for a single second. Not during your darkest night. Not during your most confusing season. Not when you felt completely invisible to everyone around you. What looked like stillness from where you were standing was actually extraordinary activity from where he was standing. Think about how a master architect works. Before one single brick is laid, before one wall rises from the ground, there are months, sometimes years of invisible work happening beneath the surface. Foundations are dug deep, the ground is tested and prepared. Infrastructure is laid in places no one will ever see once the building is complete. And if you walk past that construction site during those early months, you would see nothing impressive. You might even wonder if anything was happening at all, but the architect knows. The architect sees exactly what is being built and exactly why every hidden layer matters. That is precisely what God has been doing in your life. While you were questioning the silence, he was digging your foundation deeper than you imagined it needed to go. While you were watching others seem to rise quickly, he was testing the ground of your character to make sure it could hold the weight of what he was planning to place upon it. While you were wiping tears in rooms where no one saw you, connections were being aligned in places you had never set foot in. Doors were being unlocked in halls you did not yet know existed. People were being moved into position. People whose paths were being steered without their full awareness toward an intersection with your life. This is what divine positioning looks like from the inside. It looks like waiting. It looks like confusion. It looks like delay. But from heaven's perspective, it looks like precision. It looks like intention. It looks like a plan so detailed and so personal that not one moment of your journey has been accidental or wasted. I have seen this truth play out in the lives of people who felt completely forgotten by God. Ordinary people. People with no special connections, no prestigious background, no obvious advantages. People who simply refused to let go of their faith even when faith felt unreasonable. And then suddenly, yet not suddenly at all, everything began to move at once. Relationships appeared. Opportunities surfaced. Resources came from directions no one could have predicted. And when they looked back, they could see clearly that every single season of waiting had been essential. Every season had been building something they now desperately needed. Beloved, that same God has been working in your life with the same precision, the same care, and the same unstoppable intention. Beloved, I want you to stay with me right here, because what I am about to say requires your full attention and an open heart, not a cautious heart, not a guarded heart that has been wounded so many times it reflexively protects itself from hope. I need you to open it completely, because what is approaching your life is not a small thing. It is not a minor adjustment or a slight improvement to your current situation. What is coming toward you carries a weight and a significance that your natural mind will initially struggle to contain. There is an offer coming to you, a real, tangible, life-altering offer. And I do not use those words carelessly. I have stood before thousands of people across decades of ministry, and I have learned to be precise with the words I release over someone's life. So hear me clearly when I tell you that what is heading in your direction is extraordinary. It is the kind of thing that when it arrives will make you pause mid-breath. It will make something deep inside your spirit go completely still, not from fear but from recognition. Because part of you, the part that never stopped believing even when your mind told you to give up, will immediately know that this moment is different from everything that came before it. Now I want you to understand something about why this offer will feel almost too large to receive at first. Most of us have spent years operating within the boundaries of what we have already experienced. Our expectations quietly shrink themselves down to match our history. If we have known closed doors, we begin to expect closed doors. If we have known broken promises, we subconsciously brace ourselves for more broken promises. It is not a lack of faith exactly. It is simply what prolonged waiting does to a human heart that has not yet seen the fulfillment of what it believed for. And so when something genuinely extraordinary finally arrives, the first emotion is not always joy. Sometimes it is disbelief. Sometimes it is a quiet panic, dressed up as practicality, whispering that something this significant cannot possibly be meant for someone like you. But beloved, carrying something on the other side that could not have been produced any other way. Think for a moment about gold. In its natural state, gold is not pure. It is mixed with dirt, with rock, with impurities that hide its true value from the naked eye. The only way to separate the gold from everything that does not belong with it is to subject it to an intense, sustained heat that burns away precisely what needs to go. The gold does not enjoy that process, but the goldsmith never loses sight of what he's producing. He watches the fire carefully. He controls the temperature with precision, and he knows the gold is ready not when a timer goes off, but when he can see his own reflection clearly in its surface. God has been that goldsmith over your life. Every painful season you endured was not random heat. It was controlled, purposeful, carefully monitored fire applied to specific areas of your character that needed to be refined before you could carry what is coming. The pride that would have caused you to misuse influence, the fire touched it. The fear that would have caused you to shrink back at the critical moment, the fire weakened it. The need for external validation that would have made you vulnerable to wrong relationships and wrong offers, the fire burned through it. What felt like destruction from the inside was actually purification being carried out with extraordinary precision from the outside. And beloved, I need you to stop for a moment and think about who you were 5 years ago. Think about how you handled pressure then compared to how you handle it now. Think about what used to shatter your peace that no longer has the same power over you. Think about the wisdom sitting inside you today that was simply not there before you went through what you went through. That wisdom did not come from a book. That steadiness did not come from a comfortable season. It came from being pressed, from being stretched, from being placed in situations that were bigger than your ability to control, and being forced to trust something greater than yourself. That is not accidental growth, that is intentional preparation. God was not watching your suffering from a distance with indifference. He was present inside every moment of it, walking with a purpose so specific and so personal that every single difficulty you faced was shaping a particular quality inside you that your coming assignment is going to desperately require. Beloved, I want you to understand something that the world around you will never teach you. Something that the culture of instant results and overnight success has almost completely buried under layers of noise and distraction. And it is this: what God does inside you will always matter infinitely more than what God does around you. The external blessing, as real and as significant as it is never the main event. You are the main event. The transformation that has been taking place within the depths of your character quietly and without applause is the true miracle that everything else is simply responding to. I have watched people receive extraordinary opportunities and lose them within months. I have seen doors open wide for individuals who had the talent, the intelligence, and the connections to walk through them. And yet something inside them was not aligned with what they were receiving, and slowly, painfully, everything collapsed. Not because God was punishing them, but because the internal foundation had not been built strong enough to support the weight of what had been placed upon it. A building can only rise as high as its foundation is deep, and a person can only sustain what their character has been genuinely prepared to carry. This is precisely why God in His wisdom and His mercy took the time with you that He took. He was not slow. He was not withholding from you out of indifference. He was looking at what he was preparing to place in your hands, and he was making absolutely certain that the person receiving it had been shaped deeply enough, humbled thoroughly enough, and strengthened sufficiently enough to steward it without being destroyed by it. Because, beloved, blessings without character do not produce fulfillment. They produce pressure that the unprepared soul has no framework to handle. And God loves you far too much to hand you something that would ultimately harm you. So think about what has changed inside you through this journey. Think about the patience that now lives in you, that simply did not exist before. Think about the compassion you carry for people who are struggling, because you remember what struggling genuinely felt like from the inside. Think about the discernment that now guides your decisions, the ability to recognize what is genuine and what is not, what aligns with your purpose and what would quietly pull you away from it. These are not small things. These are the very qualities that will determine not just whether the blessing arrives, but whether it remains and multiplies in your life over time. The world will look at what is about to happen in your life, and they will call it success. They will admire the opportunity, the influence, the open doors, but you will know the deeper truth. You will understand that what you are stepping into on the outside is simply the outward expression of a transformation that God completed on the inside, long before any of it became visible to human eyes. Beloved, I need you to hear this final truth with every part of your being, because without it, everything else I have shared with you today remains incomplete. The opportunity approaching your life, the divine positioning, the extraordinary offer, the sacred preparation through suffering, the internal transformation God has carried out within you, none of it was designed to stop with you. Not one single piece of it was ever meant to begin and end at the borders of your own personal comfort and success. From the very beginning, before you understood what you were being prepared